Hello guys, Jane here, Sean's sister. I will be in charge of this chapter analysis. This video will continue from where we ended last time. The first part of the One Piece chapter 1089 analysis dropped yesterday. So if you haven't watched it yet, please do before watching this video. I just wanted to say that after doing a little more research on the Mother Flame, I will be releasing a theory video within the week. So please do stay tuned for that. The Egghead Island arc is turning out to be an arc that will have a lasting impact on the story going forward. In order for us to get an appropriate understanding on what happened over the last few days, and what will happen consequently, we need to examine a few clues given to us by Oda. So based on the timeline given to us by Oda, exactly 5 days ago, the Straw Hats arrived on Egghead. CP0 arrived on Egghead Islands that same day as well. A few hours later, York set her plans into motion. This was around the same time that the evacuation of the scientists that worked on Egghead Island began. On that same day, the BlackBeard Pirates arrived on Egghead Island. This therefore means that the information that Oda was giving us in the chapter, concerning the respective parties present at Egghead Island was incomplete. The Navy force dispatched to Egghead Island was almost 5 times that of a normal buster call. For reference, a normal buster call usually consists of 5 vice admirals and 10 ships, with each ship having the capacity to carry 1,000 people. The total Navy forces usually dispatched for a buster call depends on the target, but the force is usually made up of about 10,000 men. But, in this case, the Navy forces sent about 100 ships of different sizes, of which 20 were great battleships, an admiral, 9 vice admirals rather than the usual 5, and 30,000 men. That is 10 times the number of ships required for a normal buster call, and 3 times the number of troops. In addition to that, St. J. Garcia Saturn was present. This was fitting of his title as warrior god of science and defense. His presence therefore makes even more sense, given that Egghead is the island of science. The Kizaru flashback was great. Oda already established way back in Sabayagi, that the Pacifista utilized Kizaru's light beams thanks to Vegapunk. This chapter just added more substance to that fact. The Sentomaru-Kizaru dynamic was great. I mean, you have Kizaru casually take down a weaponized sea beast, and Sentomaru requesting that he stop. Kizaru in this chapter was hilarious. He literally just showed us that he is the ultimate soldier. He does not care about the reasons, or circumstances. Orders are orders to him, and he will carry them out even if he has to eliminate family. Doberman gave a report back to Saturn, and his report served as an overview of the current situation on Egghead. Apparently the Mark III pacifistas were successful at capturing all of the remaining Cypher Pool members, sent to support the Advanced Squad. The Advanced CP0 Squad, dispatched to assassinate Vegapunk, failed in their mission due to interference by the Straw Hats. The evacuation of the scientists from Egghead was completed a few days ago. This means, over the course of the last chapters, a few days have passed since the Straw Hats arrived on the island. This here is very important for a specific reason that we will talk about in a bit. Saturn had a request, and that was the non-disclosure of his presence in the fleet. The next was the destruction of all ships carrying scientists that worked on Egghead. Sinking their ships, and killing them, was necessary in order to minimize the chances of escape of someone who had information about the Void Century. I was not surprised, since we've literally already seen them wipe out 2 islands in the story, in order to prevent information leaks. So, I would have been surprised if he had acted otherwise. Doberman mentioned that the Frontier Dome is at 100%. This meant that no one could enter or leave the Labostratum. This statement was also made by Shaka in chapter 1074. The issue with the Frontier Dome is that it seems to act as a defense mechanism. Lined with lasers, it will shoot down anyone trying to get into, or out of the labor stratum. At 100%, I suppose it means that the dome fully encloses the labor stratum and thus, totally prevents entry or exits. Finally, Doberman ended his report with Borny, as she was confirmed to also be on the island. Saturn's response baffled me. On one hand, he said that they had no use for her anymore, which meant that disposing of her was a viable option. But, he added that they could just let her be, since she was just a little girl. I do believe there is more to this statement, since she might have been used as a means to lure Kumar to work for the world government, and could even be the reason why Kumar returned to the Red Line even after being freed. This is an interesting plot point introduced by Oda in the story, and could lead us to finally discovering Kumar's race. After all, it was previously revealed that he was part of a special race. In the final part of this chapter analysis, we do have to look at the two main plot points. The first is the issue with the BlackBeard Pirates. As previously mentioned, it is safe to assume that the BlackBeard Pirates came to Egghead Island a few hours after the Straw Hats. And given that a whole lot happened during that time frame, I think it would be safe to assume that they arrived just around the time when Sentomaru began the evacuation of all scientists that worked on the island. The members in question that were sent were probably Katarina Devon and Laffit. This makes sense, since Blackbeard and Law were duking it out at Winner's Island. And in the conflict, Teach was accompanied by Doc Q and Van Auger. As for the others, Kuzan, Shiryu, San Juan Wolf, Alvaro Pizarro, and Vasco Shot were all chilling at Beehive Island. Laffit and Devon therefore were probably sent to Egghead Island, and their motive has yet to be revealed. That said, Oda has already shown us clearly that Blackbeard is a masterful schemer. And if he has set his eyes on Egghead Island, I believe it is for a very specific reason. A video on that will drop on Sunday, so stay tuned for that. My first guess would be that the mission is supposed to be a covert operation. This is because Devon and Laffit have exceptional abilities to infiltrate and spy on enemies. Since we earlier established that they must have been on the island for a few days now, it is safe to assume that they must have made their way to the lab and are probably hiding. The impending chaos that will ensue once the siege begins will provide the window of opportunity for them to strike. Finally, York's call was very interesting. I will start off by saying that York pretty much fooled the Gorosei into telling her their plans. The first bit of juicy information that we got was their demand for more mother flames. And this was a special request from someone whom we know as Aimu. The next was given by York, as she said the fusion reactor required to produce mother flames is currently on Egghead Island. This power source is probably the same one that powers the whole of Egghead Island. We can deduce from these statements that the weapon that Aimu commands is dependent on the mother flames, and without it, she cannot destroy an island. But this line of thought is slightly false. Here is why. Oimo and Kashi served the world government as gate guardians of Enies Lobby. This means Enies Lobby was constructed more than 50 years ago. We also do know that the gaping hole at Enies Lobby was probably made by the same weapon that destroyed Lulusia Kingdom, and Enies Lobby was constructed afterwards. This therefore means that the weapon must have been used by Aimu sometime in the past, and that event must have occurred more than 50 years ago. If we factor in Dr. Vegapunk's age, 65, it is clear at this point that he was probably not the one who produced the energy source used to destroy that island more than 50 years ago. It is therefore clear that the Gorosei have options, should they end up killing all of the Vegapunks. Finally, it did surprise me that for a call where classified information was discussed, Kizaru was allowed to join in as well. This shows us how much trust the Gorosei have in the Navy admirals. After spilling the beans, York ended the call with a cry for help, and for the first time in the story, the Gorosei heard the Straw Hats speak. The shocked expressions on the faces of the Gorosei and Kizaru was just too much. At this point, I am very certain that the Straw Hats will get another huge bounty boost after this arc. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section. Be sure to subscribe as well. I will catch you guys later.